Hey everybody, Customikes here. We are going live with Scotto. We are in Customikes Mancave, and I'm not going to be able to answer any comments and all that stuff right now. We'll do that later. We're in the shop, having a blast. And I think after eons of thinking about it, it's time to cut the roof down today, just for the hell of it. There's no rhyme or reason planning this, that, and the other. So I've looked at this roof for too long. There's been a move and a bunch of other things happening in between, but I think today is the time to decide what to do. And we did some layouts today, and I just figured I'd talk about it a little bit to give you an idea. Most of the people do, when they do a chop, they go in and do it and think it's going to be done in a weekend, and you can absolutely do it if you have it planned out correctly and maybe a drawing and this, that, and the other. But if you just go to chop it off and do it real quick, you end up with a lot of compromises, both in design and functionality and work and all that stuff. And one perfect example is I cut this roof late on the night that we did the first cuts. It's probably 11:30, and I normally when I tape up a thing, like when I'm going to do the cuts, I lay out the tapes and where my cut lines are going to be, and then I write arrows on them, cut here, so I don't do the wrong thing. And unfortunately on this one I never marked it, and I cut it on the wrong side because I was in a hurry. I wanted to finish. I wanted to set the top down and look at it. And I realized after setting it down, wow, this looks really, really bad. You know what? And unfortunately, it wasn't what I intended. It was an inch too much, as you can see by the little piece that is in here. I actually, once I realized the mistake I made, I actually cut a piece, lifted the roof back up, and put double sleeves in there to make sure that my mistake was corrected. Anyway, and it's the same here. This was 1.5 inches lower than what I intended it to be. So I just put it back up and put a strip here to hold it in the location that I think is the best, or was the best. But the reason I don't tack it or weld it, and the reason I'm using screws, is because it gives me options later on. I don't have to. Adjustability. And that's also, everything I have is screwed together with sleeves and stuff in the joint areas, etc. Simply because of that. And even when I take this down and put it down, I was going to put this together with screws just to make sure that I can change my mind and improve the design. One of the things I do, and it's a little bit hard to see probably in the video, but I just have a string, a regular string. Hopefully you guys can see that there. And I'm trying to figure out, where is this line going to fall? How much am I going to cut back here in order to get the look that I want? And there is a MiniMerc, Phantom MiniMerc wagon album, or delivery, or whatever you would call it, album on Customikes, where you can see other pictures about it. And there is a, what do you call it, rendering, but it's just paper. I took a picture of this car from the side, and then I made some copies and I cut and taped it together. It's just a cheap Adobe Illustrator, I guess. But you can do a lot with a paper and a razor blade and move stuff around to figure out what's going to happen with the top when it comes down. For a really inexpensive, it's a really inexpensive way of doing it, so to say. But I've laid out this line across the drip rail to figure out where and how much I'm going to cut to get the look that I desire. It doesn't make it right or wrong, it's just the look that I want for this car. And it turns out it's going to be somewhere around between 4 and 4 3/4 net on the height. We're actually net 3 right here, 3 1/4 actually. But that meant we took about almost 5 out of the windshield because it's on an angle. But 4 1/4 or 4 3/4, I think it was, makes 3 net here. just to think about the angles when you cut a roof. But I think this line is the layout we're going to do. So we're going to cut the width of 2 pieces of tape because it's easy to lay the tape out around the pillar to get a consistent cut line quickly. So that's what we're going to do. I figured we'd talk about it a little bit today before I get into cutting and stuff, and I'll show you another video later on today. The other thing I wanted to mention too, there's a lot of buzz on the internet in regards to metal shaping and body work and all that thing, and we're getting so wound up about making, it's almost like we're all expecting every car that's being built to be concept quality and concourse restoration metal shaping and stuff, and it's unrealistic for most people, and we're shaming them, and I that are not doing perfect metal shaping work and using Bondo more than what an online presence has decided is appropriate. You know, I try to do a good job on my stuff. You know, we welded this quarter panel in here, and it's not bad. There's some areas in here where the body of the sedan is different than the wagon, so we're going to have a little whoop-de-doo here, and I could spend another couple of hours making a perfect piece to make that alignment and all that stuff. But to be totally honest, I don't care. I know what the quality of the filler material is, and in a small area like that, it's not going to make a difference, and that's 4 hours I can spend somewhere else. And a lot of times you need to make some adjustment for an accepted
compromise, maybe.
Compromise, yeah, that's a good term, Scott. Thanks, Scott. To get the result that you want in a reasonable amount of time. That doesn't mean you should load the car up with gallons and gallons of Bondo because you don't know how to do the work at all. But some level of compromise, not metal finishing everything, can be both a budgetary and a skill situation. So I just want to address that part. There's nothing wrong using Bondo the way it was designed to be. When it goes wrong is when it's inches thick of crud because you don't have the ability to do it at all. Then you really should bring a friend in to help you. You know, but there, you know, I want to take some of that stigma away because I want more people to be able to do this and enjoy customs for what they really are and do fun stuff just because it makes them happy. And you know, anyway, enough of that ramble. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to try to cut the top down, and I'm going to trim this rail off. I've shown you before the picture of like the 58, is it 58? 57, 58? The Caballeros, well, you can't take it off, so we'll show it later. The roof line of a 4-door hardtop Buick, for example, a wagon, where they have a drip line where it comes down and it makes a turn like this right here. That's what we're going to do. So I'm going to trim this, and I'm going to trim this down here, so this lays down on top of that once it comes down. And after I cut this off, I'm going to cut loose this part back here so I can lean everything forward a little bit and shove the roof forward a little bit to get a little bit more lean and have the taillights be a little bit more pronounced. At least that's what I had in the original design. So anyhow, so that's kind of what we're planning. I can give you a little bit of a sneak peek into the thought process behind it. The other aspect of this is you've seen me drive this thing around now and move it 1,000 times, and I haven't cut the roof because I wasn't happy with how this was. I wasn't happy with how the structure was before cutting it, and these are just temporary to hold the roof in place. Also, another point that a lot of us are missing when we cut a top is the preload on the body. If you look, it's hard to see right now, but we have a pretty wide gap right here. I can stick the tip of my finger in up here right now. And because the roof is cut loose from the body, it actually pivots like this. And when it's down without the roof being welded and secured with all the reinforcements, this closes up quite a bit. And when you chop a top, you need to keep that in mind, so that when I go to weld this thing together, I am going to preload her this way, calculated amount based upon how much she's moving, so that when she sets back down later on, she comes in at a gap that is consistent and not closed up. And it's one of the things you need to think about when you do chop the top. So, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up on what we're doing on this one today. Today is my day, and I'm going to work on my car and with Scotto and have some fun, and we'll show you the results in a little bit. Love you all. Thanks for hanging to Customikes. See ya.